progress.
Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners. I would note that all commissioners are present with the exception of President Lynch. He's excused for tonight. I would note that the board did meet in executive session to discuss matters permitted by law, including litigation, real estate, personnel matters, bond settlement, and related activities. Of all discussions were informal and not deliberate. We'll lead off tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, and I will ask Commissioner Pine to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone. We'll just start it off with petitions, complaints, suggestions from citizens. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? If so, please come forward, state your name, address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. You may approach.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Don Yulo, address 3812 Lucas Lane, Harrisburg, PA. I'm unsure if I'm speaking at the right time, so that's...
You're fine.
I have an item that I want to address that's coming up on item I1. I was unsure if this is the time to talk about that now or come back after... Again, I don't want to overstep my bounds. I didn't want to do it.
Now it's fine.
Now? Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, regarding there's a... I'll be brief. There's a settlement agreement that's currently in process that's been recommended by, I guess, the township solicitor. That was, I won't go into a lot of detail, but the township solicitor recommended it. It's been, as I understand, it's been recommended because it's the most expedient way to go about this. Not necessarily right, but it's the least cost effective, it's the least amount of work. It's being recommended, even though the zoning hearing board initially denied the request. It has been subsequently recommended, approved. I don't know if that's the right choice of words, because of the expedience, lack of work, lack of cost. My issue with it is, if we're only trying to reduce the amount of work, if we're only trying to save costs because we don't want to go to litigation. The question is, if someone has enough money and stomps their feet and says, I'm going to appeal, is that reason enough for the township to not follow the rules that they have in writing, for the township to bend to the will of someone that has fancy lawyers, fancy engineers, deep pockets? Again, I'm sure you're already all aware of the issue, so I won't belabor the point other than I'm a small property owner in the area. This is going to be a mess. It's all self-inflicted, and it's going to be a mess. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who'd like to come before the board? State your name, address, and you're at 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
My name is Jesse Tomkowitz, and I reside at 2464 Magnolia Terrace, Harrisburg, PA 17110. I'm speaking to you as a private citizen on a matter of public concern. I'll restate the facts I mentioned when I was here on May 11th, and I'll discuss a new development that occurred on May 26th. On Wednesday, April 26th at 11:46 p.m. at night, in furtherance of the program Operation Vigilant Protector, Officer Lauber searched through the windows of my vehicle parked at Reserve at Paxton Creek, likely with a flashlight, and discovered a wallet in my center console. Officer Lauber left a bright blue note on my vehicle's driver's side window stating that there was a visible wallet in my center console. On May 26th at 2:33 a.m. at my apartment complex at Magnolia Terrace, Officer Roche also decided to search through the windows of my vehicle, likely with a flashlight as well, and left another Operation Vigilant Protector bright blue note on my car that I now have in my possession will hand to you when I'm finished. This note was different, however. The last one specified my infraction, which was the wallet. This one didn't. It simply indicates with a check mark that either my doors were locked or there were valuables left inside my car. I guess it was up to me to guess whether or what Officer Roach was thinking. Not that it's relevant, but I don't really believe either of those were true. I had to unlock my door when I approached it, and I couldn't see any valuables in the vehicle this time. It's relevant to emphasize that this new nighttime search of my vehicle, conducted by Officer Roach, occurred just 29 days after the last search of my vehicle, and it occurred in a completely different apartment complex. The takeaway is that Susquehanna Township Police Department, at a minimum, is conducting monthly, random, nighttime searches of my vehicle, no matter where I try to hide in Susquehanna Township. Perhaps in June, I'll park my car overnight at Kings Manor, and it'll go 3 for 3, and I'll park at Blue Ridge Apartments in July, and it'll go for the cycle. So today, because of the repeated invasions of my privacy, I'm once again exercising my right to petition the government, and in light of this new incident, I want to re-emphasize only 2 points. 1, my privacy is being invaded, and 2, the program is counterproductive. To the first point, this is a blatant invasion of privacy, and I don't think any of you commissioners, nor Officer Lauber, nor Officer Roche, nor any ordinary citizen would appreciate it if randomly every month, or perhaps more frequently than that, I were sneaking around your vehicles, searching your car while your family slept peacefully at night, and then proceed to write a bright blue slip stating my opinion of how good your car would be to break into and slapping it onto your car. That conduct would, of course, be outrageous. But it's even more outrageous when it's a state-sanctioned program conducted by armed police officers with the power of the state behind them. We're all adults and do not need anyone, let alone the government, conducting monthly random inspections of our private property to teach us a lesson of personal responsibility. How far am I expected to be willing to let this go before I say something? Where, in your opinion, is the line on this? Maybe next we start a program where we encourage the officers. May I have a few more minutes to finish?
Go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Maybe next time we have a program where we encourage officers to peek through not only the windows of our vehicles, but maybe our homes, to ensure that there aren't any valuables in our living room that would become an easy target for criminals. Maybe after that we start another program where the officers conduct random inspections of our home and rummage through our living rooms, in the interest of public safety and crime prevention, of course. I say again, at what point, in your opinion, would you finally begin to say, yes, this program goes too far? If monthly nighttime inspections of my vehicle aren't too far or don't cross the line, then nothing the police ever do will cross the line. And to my second point, just like the last time I was here, my second point is even if you don't care about your constituents' privacy, which of course is not true, you have to see how counterproductive this policy is. And Officer Roche's latest blue slip proves that a terrible policy can become worse. This policy effectively asks the police to slap a bright blue billboard on my car that says, hey, this is a good car to rob. Officer Lauber's April note even gave the criminal instructions on where to find the item and let them know if the car was locked or not. How convenient. Officer Roche's bright blue billboard, however, has the reverse issue. It's not specific enough. It simply checkmarks a box that says unlocked vehicle or valuables readily visible. It could be visible valuables, it could be an unlocked car, it could be both, but who knows? How does Officer Roche think I could reform my behavior when the officer isn't specific enough for me to do so? Perhaps Officer Roche doesn't understand the point of the program, which would not be surprising, because frankly, I don't really either. All Officer Roche accomplished was slapping a bright blue billboard on my car, telling my neighbors that my car was probably a good target to break into. And I suggested the story the police are sticking with is that they're teaching citizens a lesson about car break-ins. They need to actually teach that lesson by specifying the infraction. I have a feeling I've probably got more blue slips headed my way in the future, but next time I hope they'll be more specific so I can conform to their expectation
1 minute.
of how I should take care of their private property. The police department's satisfaction with the arrangement and condition of my private property is, of course, a great concern of mine. At the end of the day, I don't think if you hire me to come up with a policy that would increase the number of successful vehicle break-ins in Susquehanna Township, I don't think I could come up with a program better than Operation Vigilant Protector because of
30 seconds.
As a final word, I want to thank the police for always being good first responders. I just want to emphasize that Nonetheless, they're not immune to criticism. I appreciate what they do for our community, but I strongly urge that the singular error of judgment of an otherwise excellent police department be eliminated immediately for the good of the community and the department itself. And I thank you for the time allotted to me and the additional time, and I appreciate your continued willingness to listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I approach just a hand? There's just singular sheets.
Sure.
They have like a photo of the
Sure.
thing. I hope there's enough.
One question for you.
Sure.
Did you talk to the police department about, did you put anything in writing there?
I called the police department immediately the day after. I don't know, they didn't identify themselves, but had briefly mentioned some of my privacy concerns and was not given was effectively told more or less, this program, which is what I expected, this program's in your interest, we're here to help you, et cetera, that kind of thing. So,
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
this one's cheap for everyone.
Oh,
Sorry, I don't mean
You know what? I thought they were all separate. Like, I was like, wow.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come before this board? No? Okay. We'll move on then. Seeing none, on the approval of the minutes. Give me 1 second. We'll approve the minutes for the May 24th, 2023 workshop meeting. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Second, it's been moved and second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. We now move on to recognition and presentations. Are there any? None? Okay, thank you. Moving on, reports of committees, building and grounds.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
President.
Yes, sir.
The only thing I really have to report is that our monument sign is now installed and up and running and is advertising signups for programs, so it seems to be doing well. I would refer to our manager to maybe elucidate a little further anything else that I'm not aware of.
No, I think that's the big update that Commissioner Rothrock pointed out. Our monument sign's operational, it's pretty good. We have a few punch list items that remain on the building renovation project, and then we ought to be officially complete.
That concludes my report.
Oh, okay, thank you. Move on to budget and finance. Commissioner Pine.
No report, Mr. President, although we have an upcoming meeting, unless the manager has anything else.
I would add that we anticipate receiving in the next week a draft copy of the 2022 township audit. And as Commissioner Pine pointed out, after we received that and had a chance to review it internally with our auditor at Zelenkowski Axelrod, we'll meet with the Budget and Finance Committee to provide a report on the findings and then ultimately present to the Board of Commissioners for your review and acceptance. I don't have a date exactly on that yet, but it should be sometime in July.
Very good. Thank you. Public Works, me, I'm going to hold off. And Nate, if you have anything later on for Public Works, you're more than welcome. I have no report then. Health and Sanitation, Commissioner LeBert.
Thank you very much, sir. Just one note, the yard waste collection conducted by Penn Waste will be conducted 2 Saturdays in a row in the month of June. It will be Saturdays, June 10th and 17th. And that's due to the Memorial Day holiday. It's not the 1st and 3rd. It's the 2nd and 3rd Saturdays. And that's all I have to report.
Oh, very good. Admin personnel, back to me, no report. We will meet in July for admin personnel. Police?
No report.
No report. Fire, EMS?
No report.
No report, sir. Thank you. Recreation?
I have something. So the steering committee for the township-wide bicycle pedestrian freeway master plan had the first public meeting on the 1st of June. We have a great turnout, 37 attendees, including Commissioners Lynch, Barchak, Williams, and myself. Also, the township participate in the 23rd Group Development on the 4th of June with over 1,000 participants, including our 16-member team. So,
Mr. Wonderful is in the
Mr.
audience.
Wonderful, the Ignored is in the audience. Thank you for herding us through the whole race. I look forward to the next one. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wonderful, Commissioner Engel will be, told us he will be joining us next year, sir.
I think Commissioner Pine may have said that also.
Oh, did he? He made it, he was just a little tardy, that's all. But he made it. Thanks for coming out. That was a great time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks to the township.
Planning and zoning. Anything, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. There was a planning commission meeting scheduled for, I suddenly lost my notes, I had them here in front of me, but the end of the month in May. We convened, but we did not have a quorum. And so a special meeting was planned and occurred. Thank you. I'm glad I said those two things. Special meeting was convened on the 6th of June to hear the issue of the Holtzman Elementary School waiver request to waive land development process for the installation of 2 modular classroom facilities. And that waiver has been recommended for approval and subject to conditions and is going to be before us later in the meeting for consideration. Zoning hearing board meeting was held last night. There were 2 items on the agenda. One was the Walnut Enterprises settlement agreement at 3801 Walnut Street. This was, as the gentleman addressed this earlier, this was about a decision by the zoning hearing board previously to deny a waiver that went to litigation, and the process of that litigation, our representatives, our staff, and our solicitor worked out a compromise which involved some changes to the signage that was at issue, and that settlement was approved by the zoning hearing board. They are a party, the Board of Commissioners is a party, and the appellate is a party, all 3 parties to the agreement. We're going to consider that also later this meeting. And the other item was 1400 Hagee Way, which was request for a variance to permit a fence along the front lot line. This was a result of a zoning administrator's determination that that fence would violate the zoning ordinance. And after hearing the testimony, the zoning hearing board granted that variance as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. We have anything, nothing under bids and agreements tonight, correct? None?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll move on to ordinance resolutions, subdivisions, land development plans. The first one is resolution 2023R-13, a resolution Susquehanna Township, Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, ratifying the settlement agreement between Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners, Susquehanna Township Zoning Hearing Board, and Walnut Enterprise LP, and authorizing the Vice President and Secretary to execute the same attached hereto as Exhibit A and made part of resolution. And Ms. Logan, will you be taking that?
I will, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Provided with you is a copy of Resolution 2023-R13, which ratifies the settlement agreement between Susquehanna Township, the Zoning Hearing Board, and Walnut Street Enterprises, as outlined in your review. I would like to clarify, based on the comments that we received at public comment time, that the solicitor did not negotiate the agreement. It was a 3-party agreement that was determined to improve the request for side yard setbacks for the signage and decrease the size of the sign in lieu of the potential to lose the appeal from the zoning hearing board. As discussed, it involves all three parties, and it relates to a variance that was denied for two signs at 3801 Walnut Street and 3803 Locust. The variance request in 2021 was denied and the applicant appealed it, and as discussed, all three parties have come to a settlement agreement. So that's what's before you tonight. The zoning hearing board approved the ratified agreement last night at their meeting, and we're asking the Board of Commissioners to do the same tonight.
All right, hearing so, is there a motion on the floor for this?
So moved.
So moved. Second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we'll now move on to Resolution 2023-R14. Resolution of Susquehanna Township, Gulf County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the Vice President Secretary to execute a memorandum of understanding between Susquehanna Township and the Capital Area Greenbelt Association for the maintenance programming and capital improvements to the Capital Area Greenbelt. Mr. Douglas. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. We've reviewed this document with you previously. It's really a way for both the Greenbelt and the township to identify required maintenance and larger capital needs in the future, and kind of establishes what support the Capital Area Greenbelt Association can give to the township in our efforts to maintain the trail moving forward. And it'll just give better direction in the future as new administrators and officials come on board.
Very good. All right. Is there a motion on the floor for this?
Also move for approval of the resolution.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Are there any, moved and second, are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on, I3. All right. Request for land development waivers for Holtzman Elementary School. Ms. Logan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tonight you have before you, as assessed by Commissioner Rothrock, Thomas Holtzman Elementary School is requesting a waiver of land development. The school is proposing to install 2 temporary modular buildings at the elementary school at 1910 Lincolnstown Road. The modular buildings are to provide additional classroom space to reduce student density and improve student-to-teacher ratios. Per section 23-301C4 of the Susquehanna Township Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance, the addition of impervious square footage proposed by the school district would necessitate the submission of a land development plan for approval. The school district is requesting a waiver from that requirement. Provided with your agenda is a copy of the waiver request letter, staff review, consultant review, and recommendations, and a rendering showing the placement of the new modular units. The project is located in the Business Office Residential Zoning District in the 8th Ward. The Planning Commission reviewed the request at their meeting on June 5th, and they recommended approval with the following conditions. And I can add a little bit of clarity to these conditions as I read through them. The zoning administrator also recommends the conditions of approval for the planning, as the Planning Commission did. Sidewalks are provided in accordance with the Susquehanna Township Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance within 12 months of the issuance of certificate of occupancy. This was a requirement of a 2019 approved land development plan for Thomas Holtzman when they added the first 2 modulars, and that has not occurred. So we're including this condition again.
Very good.
Street trees are provided in accordance with the approved agreement and planting exhibit within 12 months of the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. That also was related to the previous land development application. At the time, they didn't provide financial security, so we're requesting that they provide financial security to ensure that those installations are made or that the township can install those if they are not completed within the correct amount of time. The applicant also, we're requesting that they meet and address the fire marshal's concerns regarding fire safety and fire truck movement on site. That has now occurred, and they are working on a negotiation with that, but we would like to keep that comment as part of the approval. And then all of this information will be executed in agreement with the township for improvements. So our recommendation tonight is that the Board of Commissioners grant the waiver from section 22-301C4 of the subdivision and land development ordinance subject to conditions as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we grant the waiver subject to the conditions indicated by the Assistant Manager.
I'll second the motion.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you so much. Where are we at here? Reports now. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just a couple of things to emphasize in my report. Bids have been opened on June 1st for the 2023 planned road paving projects for the township. These include segments of Valley Road, Goose Valley Road, Crooked Hill Road, Rose Hill Road, some common themes there, Locust Lane, and Maple Shade Drive. There was a few alternates that were bid as part of the base bid package, Maple Shade Drive being one, because that was done as an emergency repair contract by the Susquehanna Township Authority. In order to complete that project, there has to be a wearing course and top coat put down on that that segment of street that was improved as part of the stormwater project that was done there. So we wanted to follow the competitive bid process for that, as it was not part of the emergency need to be addressed immediately. That will be funded by the Township Authority. Staff intends to meet with the Public Works Committee next week and have a recommendation to present to the full Board of Commissioners at the June 22nd workshop meeting, including any and all alternates that are recommended for award. I am happy to report that they came in under our budgeted amount, and so we're pretty excited to get started on some of those projects. The Paxton Church Road Stabilization Project, speaking of road projects, is underway. Utility relocates have been being completed or were being completed this last couple of weeks, and we anticipate the paving to begin next week. There will be a detour that is put in place for that segment of Paxton Church Road starting on June 12th. So residents are advised to just be cautious as they approach that area. It will remain open to local traffic for the residents who reside there. And then lastly, the authority board met. I know there's a report coming on that, but just to highlight some of the items that were discussed, the 2023 road projects were reported on, the bids that were open, just for awareness of the authority board. And the board made an award for an engineering services contract to GHD to do an Act 537 plan special study for the Fox Run pump station improvements, as well as the capital project for the Asylum Run drainage basin 23B and C. An award was made, and that's an approximately $6.5 million project. So big dollars, and it should be a very big improvement to our sanitary sewer conveyance system. With my report, there are the bid tabulations that HRG was kind enough to prepare for our upcoming award of the road projects. Other than that, that's all I have to report, unless there are any questions.
Are there any questions for the manager?
Yes, I'd like to ask, on the Paxton Church Road, I was thinking, understood there was a complete road closure, there was going to be a detour, and you said excluding local traffic, and from my perspective, living over there, all the traffic's local. How do we determine, I mean, is some traffic going to be able to go through, and how are they going to determine what's local? Because like I said, to my mind, probably most of the traffic that uses that road, I would consider to be local.
Residents will need to verify that they live in the segment that's being closed.
And the segment is being closed?
Yeah,
Well-
because the four-wall closure will be in place, and so in order to get through there, you'll have to be able to verify that you live there and.
You mean this basically on that part of that road, not anywhere like nearby?
That's correct. If you
Okay.
live nearby, you'll have to follow the
Okay.
detour. It will, as I understand, although we're verifying this, remain open for refuse collection as well, so we can keep public service delivery there. But we're waiting for a confirmation from that, from our engineer.
It would make, yeah, clarifying what local meant, I was curious. That would make sense.
Yes, sir.
Very good. We can block it from Crooked Hill Road, they'll never get in. Then you go around Shut Mill and then make the right there.
I'll be a big fan of Elmerton for the next 2 months.
A question on this one. So the detour maps will be published on our website.
Yes, actually, our executive assistant, Kathy Fry, has been doing an excellent job keeping the website updated, and we'll keep pushing that data out, those details out as they become available from our contractor, that's JVI Construction, who's doing the project there on Paxton Church.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to public safety and police. Anything, Chief Martin is not here this evening, but we want to move on, or you have anything there?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, very good. We'll go to Ms. Logan, Community Economical Development.
Thank you. You have my report before you. I don't really have anything on there to highlight, as you already looked through your agenda on what we've been working on, so if you have any questions, please let me know.
Been very busy. Public Works. Mr. Nate, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
You have my report if you have any questions on that. Last month was a busy month. Since that heavy rainstorm a month ago, we did a lot of pipe replacements. We're up to, I think, 120 ton of in-house blacktop that we've already put on the ground patching roads. Currently, we're working on the mountain because that didn't get done last year.
Wow.
So we've been busy. Briefly, there attached to the report, there is a traffic study that was conducted by LTAP. If you don't know who LTAP is, it's a contracted engineering agency that is a local technical assistance program. It's free for municipalities. They come out to help you collect traffic data, come up with traffic plans. They were here today and did a LTAP certification course for our guys to get sign certified through the state for installing signs and knowing the policies. So we met with them roughly a month and a half ago, and this is what they came up with. So I'm going to go over a few of the highlights. This is for Wood Street between Union Deposit Road and Locust Lane. If you look page 1, you'll notice in 1998, that road was roughly seeing about 5,500 cars a day. That has actually been decreasing over the years. It's currently down to roughly 3,000 cars a day during peak work out during the week. The speeds prior to the speed hump installations that are currently there are averaging around 34, 35 mile an hour. Since the speed humps that are currently there have been installed, the 85 percentiles went down to 27 mile an hour, and one near Sullivan Place, near Greenwood Boulevard, it's down to about 30. The 50th percentile is actually below the speed limit. So what's currently there is working. The issues that you will see with it and the complaints that we do get are the installation of them. The center humps a little bit narrower. When they were installed, they measured the inside duals of a fire truck to make sure the fire truck could straddle and not have to slow down. Well, the issue with that, the inside duals of a fire truck are narrower than most cars. So that allows people to go up the center. So the only really fix to that is ultimately creating a solid speed hump and tearing up what's currently there and stuff like that. So what's there is currently working, but you have a few incidences, and I know PD this week, recent weeks, have been sitting there and citing people for crossing the double yellow.
Guilty.
So reportable crashes in the last 4 years since HRG did it. There's only been 6 reportable crashes on that street. 3 were stops, or sorry, there were 8. 3 were for stop because of stop signs, 1 for speeding, and 2 for too fast for conditions. HRG's was a little more comprehensive because they got the non-reportable crashes in there. That's why that number seems a lot higher. LTAP pulled the state data of reportable crashes. So since 18 to 2022, there's only 6 reportable crashes. For you, those of you that don't know, reportable crashes, anything with an injury or a car needs to be towed. Anything that's just insurance exchange is not a non-reportable. So if you look at PennDOT Pub 383 and the ITE guide, the speed cushion should be pretty much 6 foot, 6 foot, 6 foot. Right now they are, I believe, 8, 4, and like 8. So that allows the center line to be straddled. The only other thing that was wrong is our speed hump markings. They're supposed to be 12 inches, and they're currently 6 inches. Technically, we don't need the markings. That's supplemental to the actual speed hump signs, which we do have in place. So going with that. So some of the things that they're recommending is, and with our discussion is, making Wood Street part of a paving project next year. GHD is currently working on a stormwater plan for the lower half where there's lack of stormwater infrastructure, flooding issues, and creating one entire plan for that street. The one speed hump when you come off of Locust Lane will get replaced as part of the sewer project, and we have them replacing it to the PennDOT standard solid speed hump. So that one will already be in compliance. We're looking at other options as well, as far as adding fog lines, which then makes the lanes look narrower. So when the lanes look narrow, you're trying to stay between the lines, it usually reduces speed because people are more vigilant. We're looking at, there's opportunities for doing like the center line delineators, which people see it, they slow down. Anywhere that there's a crosswalk available, marking that crosswalk, making it a more visible intersection, which naturally people see that, they want to slow down because they're looking to see if someone's coming. Studies also show that altering the speed limit will have little effect on the speed of most vehicles. Study shows that the main positive result of lowering the speed limit is a reduction in number of faster groups of vehicles. So another recommendation is possibly you could do a resolution or an ordinance to lower the speed limit to 20. Do you think that will work on that road? To me, that's my personal opinion, it would. I think properly installed speed humps, once the road project is complete and make it a part of a road project, will do what's needed. They also emphasize greatly, and I agree, and I believe Manager Pabolka agrees, is we need to create a traffic calming policy, and that's one of the biggest things they pushed. Because right now we do a study, we implement certain things, but we don't really have a policy of what qualifies for this particular speed hump. Does this qualify for speed humps? Does this qualify for chevroning? Does this qualify? So LTAP would graciously offer to give us, templates that other municipalities have used. I know Dave's already done some research. I have of ones that other municipalities have. So that's something we really should look into for the future when we have people asking for these traffic studies that give guidance to the officers doing the studies and the commissioners when they go to accept or deny them. There's a list of different traffic calming devices and stuff that's available that they recommend that works. Like I said, the average speeds, they're really not bad since we did it. The biggest complaint is the center lane driving. Other issues they mentioned is possibly adding maybe one more speed hump. But seeing the data, I don't know if that's really needed or below speeds. But the study's really good and comprehensive. I mean, it's actually interesting enough to read, very educational. If you have any questions, I can hit them. This is pretty much the gist of it.
Great report. This is a very nice handout. I got a question for you. The 2nd Street in Harrisburg,
Yes.
all right, that slowed me down a lot. I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but I see the difference it's made. Is that what you mean when you say solid speed humps? Because they're like,
They're
long.
yes, they're
Yeah.
tables. It's kind of like what was installed up here on, when you guys approved the road. You come up, it levels out, and then drops again.
Okay.
It requires you to get down to that speed because you don't want your,
7th Street.
if-
You ever see people tear that up?
Talking to LTAP and that, like, honestly, what they just did on 2nd Street is currently the new municipal standard, if you have the road width, for traffic calming. Because the big thing with traffic calming, you can do speed humps, but you want to do certain things back to back, like you see a crosswalk, and then you have a speed hump, and then you want to keep the person's mind constantly looking at the road. And if you go down 2nd Street, it does that. I mean, you're going around a little roundabout, and then you go another 100 feet, you're going over a speed hump, and then you're going around a bump out. So it's constantly keeping you at bay. The issue with that road is, I don't think we have the width.
But it works.
We don't have, there would be a lot of land acquisition to be able to get what you need to be able to do.
So
with it.
Wood's not wide enough, you don't think?
You may be able to do small bump outs in the center, but I don't know if we'd have enough. That's where HRG would have to get involved.
So let's go a bicycle lane.
I don't think we're wide enough for that either. We actually had that discussion. We would have to look and see if we could safely be able to do like the center lane bump outs.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't become more of a traffic hazard than just doing the street marking portion of it, to just get people's eyes open and doing the proper speed humps.
Yeah, I did point this out to Dave, Manager Dave, about the possibility of a small roundabout on the five-point intersection of Kramer and Fishburne and Blue Street, if it's wide enough. But as for the 2nd Street in Harrisburg, I like the fact that they have a crosswalk that's actually elevated. This doubles up a speed bump too, or a speed hump.
Yeah, that's a newer thing a lot of municipalities are going to.
Yeah, I think because I'm trying to remember where the pedestrian crossings are on Wood Street.
Unfortunately, there's not many.
So I walked that street so many different times in the last 2 years. No sidewalk, but I do walk. So, and I have to cross sometimes. So I think I'm glad that you're looking at doing a road project next year, and that this could be all included, like really point out where should be the pedestrian crossing and make it like the elevated one that doubles up the speed hump. We'll actually beautify through the area because it's not the same material, right? Or it could be a different material, so.
Well, the speed hump's the same material as the road. What the city did is they did a lot of thermoplastic, which is what we're going to. They did the fancy thermoplastic, which is looks like brick with, they're really trying to make it pronounced to people. You see it and it beautifies it, as well as it catches your attention. The biggest thing with traffic calming is finding things that catch people's attention to slow them down. And that stuff is as simple as, like, if you have an intersection where people just keep blowing the stop sign, there's accidents. Adding a stop bar and a stop on the street is an effective way. Or you have, if you are familiar with where Her and 28th Street is.
Yeah.
I had LTAP help me with a study there because there's accidents consistently. We added crosswalks across Her Street. The accidents got cut by 75% because you made the intersection more visible. People were noticing, hey, there's a crosswalk, I better look quick. It slows them down that couple seconds. That couple seconds is a few miles per hour, which makes a huge difference. So we're going to look at all those options with HRG, and we'll have cost analysis and all that for here next year as possible project, working with GHD with the stormwater as well. Just grouping the whole project. And once we don't really want to pave a road and then a year later then tear it for stormwater, so we want to do this in conjunction and do it in a good order.
You got that?
Nate, is there any indication that the, on Wood Street, the cars straddling the middle cushion are actually causing accidents?
Talking, we haven't had that yet, just mainly complaints. I know just the other day, I think they wrote 2 or 3 citations within an hour they sat there. It seems like it's just a few people. I mean, we sat there for a while. People are doing it, they are.
I've seen that, coming from Crunch in the morning, people like behind me trying to do the light, I'm not going anywhere, so you think you do that. But of course, it's not really the speed, but to not hit the.
We do have options, and I have spoken with the chief, and I want to get with Alex too. You know, a temporary fix until we do this project is possibly doing breakaway delineators over the speed hump center line that will not allow people to do it. I mean, that is an approved traffic calming, you're allowed to do it, they have to be breakaway. But fire trucks will not be able then to drive the center. They're going to have to drive
55
the
gallon
center.
drum, that won't work. Put some sand in there.
If you want to hold the liability, sir, you can do this. I will not take that liability. But, no, I mean, there's things we can do, or we can have the police continue to police it for now, and then include it into a capital project next year, and make the repairs as needed.
Quick question for you. What would you suggest that Crooked Hill Road and, I was almost T-boned there, and they run that stop sign. It's the only stop sign on Crooked Hill Road, and they run it all the time. I don't know. They just don't see the stop sign.
Well, when we do this paving project, I mean, we're gonna have, everything that we're doing on the road is gonna be thermoplastic. So the stop bars we're putting down are gonna be retroreflective thermoplastic. There's gonna be new stops on the road. And it's gonna be bright white on fresh black road. It's gonna make it more visible. We can add, and when we purchase them, we can buy the long red strip reflectives to put down the stop sign pole to make it more visible. I know the police sit there quite a bit and get people nonstop, so I mean, we're trying to educate the best we can. The only thing we can do is just make the intersection more visible. The only way that it's an actual crosswalk is you have to have 2 sidewalks at each point that would connect, and then that's naturally, you don't even need a crosswalk, but by law, state law, it's classified as a crosswalk. You're supposed to yield for the pedestrians as sidewalks meet. We do not have that there. So that would require a very extensive traffic study to add a crosswalk or something of that nature to somewhere that doesn't have the conjoining sidewalks.
Quick question for you. On the stop sign, do they make where you could put like a solar panel and
So-
it lights around the stop sign?
We actually just had that discussion today in the class that we held here. In order to do that, it's actually a PennDOT, it has to be PennDOT approved. When you put in a new stop sign, you're required to do that for 30 days after. But after 30 days, you have to get a PennDOT permit to get approval to put a flashing light on the stop sign.
To be clear, you're talking about just the one blinky light.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think what the vice president's talking about is the whole.
Oh, I want
rendering.
fancy with it.
Oh,
I'll take the
Something
blinking
that's
light.
illuminated. You typically see those in private developments. I don't believe those meet the MUTCD for PennDOT.
Oh, okay.
So we had, like, so we had that discuss, you can have the early warning flashing lights, but that's also a permit. That's a flashing light permit, the same as when you get a permit for a traffic signal.
Even if it's a township road?
Correct. Because you gotta follow state standard, so it has to be approved by the state. Like, we are
Talk to our
required to
state
use,
representative about having changed.
like, we are required to use 30-inch stop signs, because the state says we have to use 30-inch stop signs. We're not allowed to use 24 unless there's a clearance issue. Like, we have to follow, Pub 212.
Yeah.
The MUTCD is Municipal Uniform Traffic Control Device, and so that has to be applicable in all Pennsylvania municipalities. I believe I got that.
That's the federal one, and the state has a
Alright,
stricter
yeah.
one on top. That's 67 and 212, which is the state one, which is more strict than MUT. The last thing you use is actually the MUTCD, because that's a blanket for the whole, every state has. So we got to start at what the state says, and if the state don't cover it, then you go to that and try. You got to meet the standard. So whether you're here or Alaska, you're seeing the same thing, and you're not confused going state to state to state.
agreement.
When you said that about the state standard, that triggered my, because you're saying about we should adopt a policy for like calming devices, et cetera. But I guess my recollection when we've had these traffic studies and whatnot, that we're usually bound by, like, PennDOT's already got a whole bunch of policies in effect and whatnot, and we use those to determine. So we would
They're not
need our own policy as well?
That's not policies, they're just approved actions. This would be a policy on how you approve those actions. So you're not just putting a speed hump in the middle of the street because somebody says they want a speed hump. We would create the criteria that states, or it has to meet this, it has to have over this traffic count.
When we've had those, because I've actually had people in my ward complain at wanting a speed bump, but then we said no because they didn't meet these criteria.
Yeah, there are criteria existing. I mean, I've been told about it because I wanted speed humps that did not occur. So we're definitely using a criteria.
And they might have a set of criteria they made for their traffic study, but we don't have a traffic calming policy as a township in general. It's more just speed humps. It's the chevroning. Does this qualify for a stop bar? Does this qualify for crosswalks? Does it, it covers everything more than just speed humps, which when I was.
I just use that as an example, but anyways.
Well, you
All
just
right, I mean,
take
that's
one
another
in
day,
there.
we'll figure out whether one, now we actually need one or not, but that was the thought that I had.
Great report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, then, how do you top that?
I'm not gonna try. So Manager Balka handled the bids, and y'all have my report if you have any questions.
All right. Esquire? No report. School board?
Mr. Vice President, the high school graduation is this evening, so we'd like to extend congratulations to the Susquehanna Township High School class of 2023. No other report.
No report from the authority, unless you have anything, manager.
No, sir, I believe I covered most of the highlights in my staff report. Thank you.
Very good. Shade Tree?
No report, Mr. President.
All right. Communications?
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Human relations?
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Park and recreation?
Done.
You done? All right. Very good. Any old business come before the board? None. Seeing none? All right, new business, moving on. We have a consent agenda. I'd like to do all these at one step. Would you like to take these, ma'am?
I believe that the consent agenda, if any commissioner were interested in removing an item, they would so say. Otherwise, you move the consent agenda as one slip.
Okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, there's been moved and second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then the motion carries. Thank you very much. Did we skip anything? We're now at L2, authorization to enter into electricity supply contract for certain municipal accounts. Ms. Logan.
That's gonna be Mr. Polka.
Thank you. I was unsure of my schedule
Okay.
this evening, but I was able to join, so
Thank you.
here I am. There wasn't anything included with your agenda on this because of the volatility of the electricity market. We had to wait till today to get refreshed pricing in order to have something to be able to report to you all. But we had done some outreach staff to both a contractor with the Pennsylvania Municipal League through their program, which is referred to as the Municipal Utility Alliance, MUA. Currently that bid is held by Constellation Energy, and that contract rather, is held by Constellation Energy. We'd also reached out to a utility broker via pricing from a number of different suppliers. So just to be clear, these are for contracts that are not currently covered by the power purchase agreement where the rooftop solar arrays are installed. So it's for all of our electricity accounts with the exception of the building that we're in, the public safety building just behind our campus here, and the Public Works facility off Elmerton Avenue, as well as Veterans Park, which has its utility provided by the solar array, well, through the solar arrays that are on the highway garage. The reason that those were excluded is because we receive a credit on our utility bills, and in order to be eligible to receive those credits, we have to go with PP&L for our supplier. The other accounts, which include any of the small buildings, with the exception of the any buildings that are powered in our parks facilities, none of the authority pump stations or facilities are included under these contracts. But also our streetlights and our traffic signals are included. So just again to emphasize, these are primarily for streetlights and traffic signals, but also for some of our smaller structures that have utilities, except for the authority the authority's buildings like the pump stations, etc. All told, there's approximately 40 electricity accounts. We're a substantial user, but not a big user. I would say our utilization for those accounts is right around 300,000 kilowatt hours per year. Just an estimate, of course. So the pricing that we were able to receive as of today through our broker, who priced out several different utilities, offered contract terms between 12 and 48 months. Typically, I think the sweet spot on these is anywhere ranging from 24 to 36 months, because it locks in a fixed rate. As I'm sure you all know, electricity supply tends to only go in one direction, and that's up. So we like to lock in contracts for a fixed duration that is a significant term, but not so far out that we can't capitalize on improvements in the utility market in the years ahead. I'll pause there.
Yeah, I'd like to, coming from the Public Utility Commission, I'm sorry?
We have to wait, right, to make comment. You have to do there's a motion needed for this, right?
Yeah, I am asking for a
Oh,
motion.
okay, I'm sorry.
So then the President's prerogative.
I make a motion, unless you were, okay.
No,
I'll make a motion that we authorize the township manager to execute the contract.
Well,
No?
Hold on, let's stop. What's wrong, sir?
well, I haven't given any of the parameters of the contract yet, so I'd like to provide those details if I could prior to a motion being made.
I'll withdraw my.
Okay, thank you. So, I'll just to review, so we received pricing from several suppliers through our broker, as well as the Pennsylvania Municipal League. The Pennsylvania Municipal League's contract through their Municipal Utility Alliance with Constellation is the least expensive option. I am recommending a 36-month term in the amount of the fixed price of .07183 cents per kilowatt hour. That meets all of our Pennsylvania bid requirements, provides 100% bandwidth to cover our usage, provides a fully fixed price, allows peak day notifications to help us reduce our demand costs in the future, and also provides us access to green renewable energy credits if needed to help with our sustainability goals. So once again, my recommendation is a 36-month contract with Constellation Energy and the Pennsylvania Municipal League at .07183 cents per kilowatt hour.
It's okay.
Can I make that motion now?
Yes, sir. You make your
I
motion.
move that we authorize the township manager to execute a contract with Constellation Energy for a term of 36 months for electricity.
It's been moved.
I'll second, but I have a comment.
Hold on. Move the second. Now, any comments?
Yeah, as an attorney with the Public Utility Commission for almost 20 years and working on electric competition issues, that's not true about pricing only going one way. It does, in fact, I just personally, for my own, within about 2 months, with the same company, there was about a 20% drop. And now after that, within a month or two, PP&L dropped their rates probably, I think, around 20% from the previous 6 months. What I wanted to ask, I agree, like, when you can lock in for 2 years or 3 years, and the rate you quoted is a very good rate compared to current rates, like for at least for residential accounts, even for wholesale, for municipal accounts, that's a very good rate. But do we have the flexibility under that contract, as you do with residential, as long as you don't get one with a cancellation fee, et cetera, of shopping down the road if rates do go down, because, you know, with the markets the way they are right now, there's, to me, a good chance over the next year or two of rates coming down if inflation gets tamed, et cetera, that we may want to, you know, reshop. And just because it's 36 months, I'm trying to ask, I guess, are we locked in, or do we have the flexibility, like residential accounts, of shopping down the road because rates have gone down?
Thank you, sir. Good question, and you're right. Maybe I was a little too cynical with jumping to that conclusion. Yes, but to answer your question is yes, there's no early termination fees on any of these accounts, which allows us not only perhaps to take advantage of more competitive pricing if it appears in the future, but also we do have examples where we perhaps offload traffic signals or street lights, or we shut those accounts down. That would give us the latitude to terminate those accounts with no termination fees.
Anything else, sir?
No, then that's, yeah, you know, I'm glad for that clarification. I'm glad to hear that, you know, the conditions changed on the future, that we wouldn't be able to take advantage of maybe further price decreases. But that is a very good rate that you quoted.
Yes, the PP&L price to compare now is 12 cents per kilowatt hour, so it is a substantial reduction over their retail supply side.
I hooked my house up to that.
Yeah, really?
It's a long extension cord.
Sounds like Rain Man in here. Okay. It's been moved and second. We did the comments, question and comments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and the motion carries. All right, thank you. Now we'll move on. We'll move on to the next new business, which is 2023-24 Dauphin County Local Share Grant Co-Sponsorship Request Process. Ms. Logan? Oh, God.
That's me. Thank you, Mr. President. Just really the narrative kind of speaks for itself. We did this last year. We opened up an application period for, and this isn't for the township requests. This is for co-sponsorship requests for projects that either other nonprofits or in some cases for-profit organizations are asking for funding for the local share grant. My recommendation is that this evening the board entertain a motion to open the application period for co-sponsorship requests, the 2023-2024 Dauphin County Local Share Grant period beginning today and ending July 5th at 5 p.m. I would then have the co-sponsorship requesters present to the Board of Commissioners at the regular meeting in July for your consideration of whether or not to sponsor those applicants.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Whatever you just
Okay.
That's a great motion.
You got that, yes, Darren? Okay, great. Okay, it's been moved in second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries.
Anybody accused of micromanaging staff, right?
The part we all hate. Commissioner comments?
I have one, if I may.
Oh, go ahead, sure.
Maybe I could have brought this up another time, maybe. But I keep forgetting to bring it up, and it just hit me tonight as we were going through reports and committee reports with Parks and Recreation. For some reason, when I thought when I first came on as commissioner, with reports of committees, where we have recreation, the commissioners who's on the committee would share any thoughts they have, like we did tonight. But then when we got to Jay with the regular reports, I thought Parks and Recreation was for our Parks director to speak if needed. That was my recollection when I first started, but now it's us again. And it's like, why do we have two different places, you know, providing reports on recreation? To me, it would seem, because in the reports, like we have our engineer or our lawyer, Nate for, you know, Public Works, that Parks and Recreation under reports in J should be the Parks Director in case he had some general remarks. I'm not that I need a response, but I'm just throwing that out just to make sure that something didn't get lost in the sausage making. That we have the wrong, you know, we seem like we're reporting.
No, you're right, because I do the Public Works, and then the later part, Nate gives his briefing on his report. So it kind of works the same way.
And I thought that's what we used to do, and now it got, so
I might have messed up, sir.
No, it's been this way for a while. I've been wanting to say something, and it just hit me tonight. So it's not you, it's been this way for some time, and I'm just flagging it. And if it's supposed to be that way, that's fine. I'm just thinking that maybe it should be the other way.
You know what they say about laws and sausage making?
Yeah, well, I've been there. Get some sausage in my day.
Are there any other additional commissioner comments?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
To comment on actually, I'd like to comment on both the comments that were made prior to the meeting, but I'll keep it very quick. In terms of the Locust Lane settlement, I think any time there's, Walnut Street and Locust Lane intersection there, right? You're correct, though, it's Walnut. I think anytime there's a compromise, there's going to be people unhappy, and the nature of the compromise is that maybe both parties are not as happy as they'd like to be, and so I give credit to staff and coming to an agreement. And I look at Congress and I think about the debt ceiling and the fact that many members of my party were not happy, and it is what it is. Compromise means that not everybody's completely happy. So I'm not being disrespectful to any of the people who spoke, but I understand their concerns, but they have to understand that a compromise was reached in this case. And then finally, I just want to say, I wish Jesse was still here from his comments about vigilant protection again. He used the word infraction twice. I just want it on the record that those are not infractions. The paper he distributed to us makes no reference to an infraction. There's no infraction that existed, nor was one mentioned. So it's misuse of the term infraction to say that police are accusing them of infraction. They're not. The police are trying to help them to avoid, a loss or damage or what have you. And I still remain a strong supporter of vigilant protection. So, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else for commissioner comments, please?
I would like to second Commissioner Pine's comments and just add that if you go to litigation, that doesn't mean you're going to win. And this agreement is a compromise between all parties. There were changes made to the signage, which I think is going to benefit the folks that are here that were concerned about it. And had it gone to litigation and the decision of the zoning hearing board was not upheld, then they would be going back to the original setup, the original design that would have been less beneficial or more harmful to their position. I think that kind of got lost in the discussion, that this going to litigation doesn't mean that it's going to result in a better situation for those folks either. I just wanted to clarify that for the benefit of anybody who might be listening.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Anything else? Seeing none on the left, none on the right? Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, there he is. It's been moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? No. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Good night.